I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies.
Welcome to Cookies, the basketball podcast. I'm Ben Detrick.
With me, as usual,
Is
Andrew Kuo.
Jordan Redaelli.
oh man, everybody's here. This is Cookies. It's a basketball podcast. My name is Ben Detrick. With me, as usual, is Jordan Redaelli.
What's up, dipshit?
Welcome to Twitter.
Yeah, I've been a tweeter.
Joined since 2012.
2012, never used it once.
Well, you posted like a file, like a mixtape.
Yeah, I felt like he was on Dat Piff and like accidentally auto-tweeted something about like a Freddie Gibbs mixtape or something.
I asked Pete Rosenberg a question because I was doing some research.
You know someone named Pete
answered.
Rose and Berg?
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that his name, the rap guy?
Yeah, on Hot 97 or
Yeah.
whatever.
I asked him a question, trying to get in touch with someone. He never
Rosenberg
answered,
Radio.
So I never used the Twitter again. Except there's all these people that says that I've followed that I definitely didn't follow. I think I just got added somehow.
Yeah, Twitter's weird now because they'll add people that you don't follow. They'll also put people's that you don't follow into your feed if those tweets are liked by other people that you do follow.
With. Right.
So you'll find really obnoxious stuff sometimes, and you're like, I don't follow that person intentionally, and it's just sitting there and it wasn't retweeted. It's just like, for you. A little too curated for my taste.
Yeah, there's a lot of ads and shit as well.
I always assume people block me because all I do is talk about the Knicks. And I saw someone after like 3 years, and she was just like, "You like basketball, huh?" And I'm like, "Oh, you're on Twitter. Oh, you haven't blocked me. You should just block me." She's like, "Nah, it's kind of fun. I don't care."
Should I write stuff on Twitter? Because a lot of people started following me, obviously, because of the
dipshits. Oh, so
and dipshits wasn't like you, like Kuo and Ben. It was all of you guys out there listening to Cookies.
Oh,
except you added
everyone.
us right after you said dipshit, so we were like,
yeah, it was more like, hey, like here I am finally, and also it was like, what's up, dipshits, which is how I affectionately think about all people who listen to Cookies.
It felt personal, like it was really aimed
an affront.
at two people who are in this room.
Yeah,
and the interns who run Cookies Hoops.
Well, those dipshits they're on Twitter all day.
They're shackled to their computers, just firing off those memes. We don't approve of them.
Yeah, they operate this on their own, really on their own time.
Right.
So, how do you feel about your return to Twitter? Was it a positive experience for you? Because it really isn't for the average Twitter user by perception. It's really described as a hellscape or this, toxic environment. What about you?
I find it really annoying, so I probably won't use it that much. It's good for news, although it's always bad news. The ads really threw me off. I didn't know it was going to be like that. Plus, I don't know who to follow and I don't know what to write. So, there we go.
If you just sort of wing it, just write whatever you want, how quickly do you think you'd get canceled?
Pretty quickly. I've always thought that there should be like a breathalyzer for your phone.
Oh yeah, they've been talking about that for years.
Who's fucking they? I've been talking about it for years.
Do you just cancel Kuo?
Yeah.
You'd be perfect for Twitter. You're gonna do great.
Oh man, Jordan's canceled already.
Wait,
Shit.
he thought about this first.
He didn't do the breathalyzer like he was supposed to.
Well, I guess this is like live Twitter, just other people talking shit over your shit.
Except on Twitter, unless you post it, you can't see what you're wearing. What are you wearing today, man?
I'm wearing a all-over print Bob Marley, I think Buffalo Soldier shirt or something. Oh, it's the lyrics to Jammin.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but that song's not called Jammin', right?
It's a button-down, short sleeve. Is that polyester?
Oh, it's definitely polyester. I'm burning up.
Isn't the song called something along the lines of "We're Jamming"?
I have no idea. I can't read the lyrics because I'm wearing it.
Well, I can look at them. They're written in a kind of almost a Comic Sans across your.
Didn't know you loved Bob Marley so much.
I actually lifelong despiser of Mr. Marley and
Why?
the music of.
Why would you be mad at
Can you separate the man from the clothes?
No, I can't. I mostly just bought this because it was funny and stupid.
So
And,
on
and
your
then
show,
people are
go
going
ahead.
to try and talk to me about Bob Marley, and then I get to talk to them about how much I fucking
That's
hate
called
Bob Marley.
trolling on Twitter.
Yeah. So you're logging on in real life, and what do you say to someone who's like, "Oh, Bob Marley, man, he's great. I love We're Jamming." It says "We're Jamming" all over your shoulders, so you must like the song "We're Jamming" as well. And you reply as,
Are you fucking kidding me? Bob Marley's the worst. And it's just like, I mean, Bob Marley fans aren't like the type to really go in. So they'll just shrink into the, like, what is it? Homer in the bushes?
Oh, right.
Just go back.
Jordan is really online right now.
Yeah. You've logged on, Jordo.
What is it? What's the opposite of IRL?
Online.
But is there like a little saying or something that,
Extremely online.
oh, okay.
Would you say
Online AF?
hella online?
Do you trust people who say hella who live on the East Coast?
Hella no. No, definitely.
What about
not.
it?
I say it sometimes. But you guys don't trust me, so that's fine.
No.
No, I don't trust you at all. What? Wait, do you say hella?
Sometimes. I don't mind it. I think it's a cool sounding word.
Where did you acquire that? Was it from like Atiba? Was it? I just mean, was it something from a friend group, from like skaters?
Maybe
or-
skate bros hanging out for 3 decades with skaters. I don't know.
hanging out for a decade or three.
With people who say hella. I don't say it a lot, and it's kind of always with a dumb voice, but I do it more than I wish.
Do you think the Sacramento Kings say hella a lot? Like, oh man,
Is
that
Sacramento?
windmill was hella tight.
Is it a North California thing or like Bay Area?
Yes, Bay Area.
So it would
I
be the
think.
Warriors. It would be
Yeah,
Steph
but
Curry being like,
the Warriors, it's like, nah, I don't think they're doing that. It seems more of a Sacramento Kings thing. They're young.
I also
feisty.
think the Warriors, it's so on brand to
Smiths.
say hella. It's like people from Philly saying John.
Mm-hmm.
I like Sacramento. It's like, it's not really your word, but you're in North California, so
I
you
say
kind of
wicked
embrace
a
it.
lot. But I went to school in Providence, so I say wicked like that's wicked funny.
Like wicked
That-
smart
Yeah.
in Goodwill Hunting.
You also say cool beans a lot, which is an interesting phrase.
Also heard in the Beantown.
Tough
Cool
scene
beans,
in the
cool
bean.
beans. Wait, so does Ja look like Bob Marley? Is Bob Marley Ja?
Ja is in,
Rastafari.
okay. I was like, Okafor? Like, not really. They don't look that much the same. They
This
both
is a basketball
suck,
pod. Oh, what? Woo!
but Ja Okafor is the Bob Marley of the NBA.
It would be cool if you were reading a brief history of 7 killings and just really disappointed when they don't kill the singer.
Brief history of...
The book is long.
Yes?
It's like 700 pages.
Why is it
with
called
like,
a brief history if it's long?
I think that's part of the joke.
Oh.
It's like a 700-page book that's really
100 pages per killing.
It's really 1,000 pages, really, and it details a plot to kill Bob Marley, who they call the singer in the book, and then it spans for decades and ends up in New York City, apparently being turned into an HBO show, or at least the rights got bought.
It's kind of an amazing idea that is impossible to get through. But I don't read, so
I read half of it. I've
you
never
got through it?
I've never met anyone who read the whole thing, and that's not to say they haven't. I just don't believe it's possible.
Is this in an alternate universe where Bob Marley didn't die of cancer?
No, this is an attempt on his life. Where they try to kill him, and he survives the attack.
what's the book?
Can't knock down those Buffalo Soldiers.
What's the book people have claimed to have read the most that they
Infinite
haven't read?
Jest?
Ish, but now that's a joke that no one likes that book. I'm thinking like Underworld,
Infinite Jokes?
Under A Brief History of Time. Everyone says they read, but I don't know how many people actually read. it.
Underworld
The
has
fucking Anthony Bourdain book. Everyone says that they read that.
everyone just read the New Yorker article and claims they read that book. The New Yorker article gets into all the stuff that you want to hear. It's the part about not eating fish early in the week. It's the part about that Mexicans like run all the kitchens in New York. I feel like we just read that article and assumed that we read the book.
Yeah.
Because I know that's been my tactic for ages.
I've like picked through the book a little bit, but the takeaway is I listen to a lot of New York Times book reviews instead of reading books, and I find it to be just as good. They go through it in
I
detail.
like this tactic.
It's like
Quo's Cliff Notes.
I don't read. I hate reading.
Same.
It's just like it sucks. Like I'll read a couple characters. Every time Ben sends me an article, I'm like, why the fuck are you sending me this article? I don't read.
Yeah.
I assumed because you wear glasses and you're Asian that
Oh,
you're a
God.
huge reader, and this is really shattering my stereotypes.
Well, this is the thing. We have two non-readers.
I assumed you were a
and
non-reader.
an avid pretending to read. What the fuck is that supposed to be?
yeah,
You're not Asian. You don't have glasses. You're tall.
yeah. This guy hates books.
Well, like I'm tall. Like my eyes are too far away from books. What the fuck?
Yep.
Like, oh god, I needed binoculars to read this thing.
Quo at least has books around him because he uses them to like sit on in his little chair over there.
That's right.
Quo stands on books to put the other books that he didn't read back on the shelf.
That's right.
Quo, are you carrying a phone book to read through over there?
Just reading Underworld.
He's about to beat you with that phone book if you don't.
That's right.
Underworld intro, amazing.
The first 100 pages are fantastic.
Wait, I thought you said you didn't read. What?
I read the first 100
So you're a
pages.
pretend
Non-reader.
non-reader.
I'm the pretend
But I
reader.
read this in like college. This was like 1998.
Oh, was it you were trying to get laid or something? You're just out there in the quad with your book.
No, there was no internet. There was no basketball reference in 1998. There was no Tankathon and .com in 1998.
I really don't understand how people are able to read a lot these days. It just seems like that's an activity that has become odd. When you crack open a book and you can't control F, and you're just sitting there. There's no embedded video. There's no.
You can't like make dinner at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to sit there for hours with a book.
Yeah, it also
not
hurts
efficient.
because your hand is already like seized up in the shape of a phone. So like trying to hold a book with a phone-shaped hand is really fucking difficult.
You need a small one that you can kind of pry open
Yeah.
with your phone grip.
Yeah. Or someone should, like those rings that they put on phone cases, someone should just put them on books.
Or just like carve out. Just like carve out the pages so your phone fits into a book, so you open it up, but you're just looking at a screen.
Oh, like
hiding a gun in a book.
Exactly, like a gun in a Bible in a seedy motel in
But
the
you're just
middle of
watching a
Tennessee.
video of LeBron James.
Oh, congratulations to LeBron, I believe, right?
Incredible night for Los Angeles as a franchise there.
The greatest
Wait,
Los
does
Angeles
LeBron,
Laker of
does
all
LeBron
time.
read books? Fuck no, right?
He's cool. Why would he read? No. Reading is not for heroes.
Remember when Phil Jackson gave Shaquille O'Neal a copy of, I think it was a Nietzsche book? And he was like, "Did you read it?" And he was like, "No, but I kind of got what it meant." And what does it mean? He's like, "With great power comes great responsibility." And it's like, correct, actually. You are correct, sir.
I guess I understand that God is dead and something about like if your house burns down, you'll eat lunch in the ashes, staring into abysses,
Yeah.
so forth.
Things we lost in the fire.
So yes, the big night that LeBron had. He has now surpassed Michael Jordan, who
In
was
every way.
his idol, the reason he wears number 23, in scoring. And that puts him fourth on the all-time NBA list. You have Karl Malone, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Kobe. I believe the order is Kareem first, Kobe second, Malone third.
What do you mean you believe
sure?
the order?
Look
You
it
had
up.
to get 4 things right in a row. You don't know, like,
Am I right?
you don't know how to count to.
Look it up.
Four?
Now you're casting down into my memory.
What's your oh wait, Jordan?
or what's your? Okay,
Thanks. Can you clarify for
Kareem,
audience?
Malone, Kobe.
that's what I thought it was.
What's his name? LeBron, Michael Jordan.
That's what I thought it was too. And the mailman might or
Four
might
Lakers
be.
legends at the top of the list.
It's such an accomplishment.
What?
It's
They
like-
are. And I bet they all reached their milestones on the Lakers.
And one of them was drunk the whole time. The mailman,
I mean, it's
as heard on Last Cookie.
it's incredible when you see a franchise like Los Angeles, these legends of the Lakers, Karl Malone, LeBron James, have surpassed the Shaqs
The
and
pals,
the Powells and
the Nick Van Exels.
Anyway, last night, the Eddie Jones.
Magic Johnson and Kobe are the only legends that started their careers and finished on the Lakers, right?
Out of those players, I believe so.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Sasha Vujacic ended in New York.
Lakers, where
He could have been a legend.
generational talent goes to die.
So last night was a weird situation
Why?
because Laker legend LeBron James has only been there for 45 games, and they are currently not going to make the playoffs. So it was an odd environment for a sort of career retrospective, a moment that was supposed to shine on his contributions to the game, but it was in front of people who kind of don't like him and are disappointed by him. Is this something that we should have? Was it a powerful moment that we witnessed last night?
Yeah, it was meaningful. It was important because it's amazing how Jordan got to that peak because he shoots so much and his usage is so high. And by nature, LeBron is kind of like a pass-first superstar, right? And he could score in bunches, we know that. But he kind of does so many other things that Jordan didn't do, like play defense from 1 to 5. He can cover any guy on the court. He can handle the ball. He can finish. He can pass. And then the fact that he played so long and was healthy for so long.
But is it impressive that it took him 22 seasons to do that?
Jordan or LeBron?
LeBron.
What do you mean? Like, was it impressive that it took him so long? Because it didn't take him that long.
Yeah, 22 seasons he's been in the league.
22 seasons.
What? No?
I don't think
LeBron.
he's been in the league
Yeah.
for 22 seasons.
Where are you getting that number?
Yeah, I'm
He
confused.
started when he was 12.
Fair fucking enough, man.
So you're unimpressed.
I mean, I'm impressed because he played 22 seasons, if you include all the playoffs. So it's kind of like this thing where it's like, I'm impressed because he did it. That he did it. That's cool. Well done. Congratulations, LeBron. But I feel like it took him a lot of games to do it.
I don't know the numbers offhand, but I don't think it took him that many games. I think he did it in like a surprisingly fast way. I think it took Malone and Kareem much longer to get to this point.
Kobe has more points than LeBron at the moment, but he won't in about a season. And if I do the math correctly, I think LeBron will reach it averaging more per game than Kobe in less games. I mean, those things would go hand in
Wait,
hand.
so you
There's
did,
no
you did
comparison
that
with-
math correctly, but you didn't know the order in which the players were correctly?
I think I got it right.
I mean, obviously, my math isn't great.
But
22 seasons.
But like scoring is the only category we can do this with, and it's imperfect too, right? But you can't really do this with like rebounds or blocks or shooting percentage per attempt, or per attempts cumulative. We can't do this with wins well. So this is the only kind of single action on the court that we can rank these all-time players with, right?
Well, also, this is, to your point, the NBA version of the home run championship. Because
It's not batting average.
it's not batting average, it's not doubles, it's not
slugging,
runs scored, it's not RBIs. It's most of like, what do you think about when you think of the sport? In basketball, it's points. So it's most points ever. It's a testament to both greatness and longevity, etc. So like there is, of course, a significance. We don't know who the leading rebounder of all time is offhand. We don't know who is it still Stockton at number 1 in assists? Is it Magic? Yeah.
Jason Kidd.
But points is one that we will know. We will always know who the leader in that is. But at the same time, as a moment, it's kind of boring because all the points are the same. It's a cumulative thing, and it's not even like
It's a lifetime award.
And with LeBron, you're like, well, he's clearly going to do this.
Yeah. And we only care about him passing one guy because we don't put LeBron in the same category as Kobe, Malone, even Kareem. Like, it's Jordan. So when he passes Jordan, that's a symbolic thing. And he'll pass these other guys, but we won't care as much.
I mean, the Jordan one is big for the reason you said. He was never supposed to be the greatest of all time as a scorer. He was supposed to be more like Magic Johnson than Michael Jordan. And then here it is that he has scored more points than
Huge.
his
Yeah.
idol and the reason he wears number
You know
23.
why? Because he's been to more finals. That's why.
Oh, it doesn't count playoffs.
Oh,
I think this is
fuck!
regular
I'm
season.
really poorly informed on this topic.
No. This is good though because it's confusing, right? Because this is a
That's
This-
what I meant by 22 seasons. I thought they were including the playoffs.
that's a lot of seasons, man.
Yeah.
No, this was just regular season.
Because you can't punish a player like Carmelo Anthony for not going to the playoffs. And
I
not
mean, why
accruing
not?
that
He
stuff.
should be punished for not going to the playoffs.
But what if his teams suck?
Well, what if he sucks?
He does not. He has had a great career.
What will the scene be like next year? If it is in Los Angeles, as it was last night, and the Lakers, let's say they're not good again, and Kobe is about to be passed by LeBron James in Los Angeles, is Kobe at that game?
No, Kobe is not at that game. Well, okay,
He
I know where
kinda
you're going.
has to,
I
though,
know where you're
right?
going with this because he could. He loves to group himself into the tier of LeBron and MJ. So him being there, being like, "I'm passing the mantle," and be like, "Oh, okay."
I just wanted there to look at his face, just Kobe's face, and his just like shit-eating grin and applause as like
It's like, well done, son.
like LeBron James cruises in for a layup in a meaningless game to like pass Kobe's career achievement.
I think Kobe goes there and he claps, and then as he's clapping, he rises to his feet and waves to the crowd, and the crowd turns to Kobe and claps Kobe for a job well done.
I like that. Or a Pelosi, he points the clap at him.
You know what he has to do? He's got to go there to the game to get more applause than LeBron. That will be his way of doing
That's
it.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
No, I'm saying you're.
Thank you for concisely explaining it to everybody. Did I
I'm a-
stutter, Ben?
I'm agreeing with you.
Cool.
You know what I noticed last night? When that moment happened, some of his teammates high-fived him, but like none of the other team, like remember when they Doc Rivers gave that ovation to Dirk, and every player on the court kind of came up to him and like high-fived him, hugged him. LeBron, it was kind of demure reaction, like his teammates on the court acknowledged it, and then everyone just kind of walked away, and then he went to the bench and buried his face in his towel as if
Pretend
he
that
was crying.
Crocodile Braun.
I'm not sure if he cares about this thing that much. Like, as a player who never prided himself so much on scoring totals, I think he's really excited to pass Jordan in all these milestones. I'm not sure he cares about this one that much because he played it off being like, oh, it's just going through the motions. Like, no one really cares on the court. He buried his face. He's like, okay, let's keep going.
Was he just ashamed that he like achieved such a momentous thing whilst not making the playoffs?
I don't think he cares
was-
about this season at all, man. I think he's just like fully just like, I'm the man. Like, there's nothing you can tell me to like kind of bring me down on this. And I have this theory that I have this idea that in Cleveland, the most influential player on that team was Kyrie Irving. Because LeBron's showing all these signs of like falling into millennial trappings, right? Just being like, oh, my life is bigger than just this game. You guys think I care about this? I'm doing so many other things. Like, this is just a game, you guys. And that's something he learned from Kyrie, right?
I don't know. This kind of takes it back to what we discussed last week with, is this version of LeBron different from the prior version of LeBron? Are we saying it's a different version of LeBron because they're losing? So now his behavior seems
Well, since
more
we've talked,
frivolous or less focused?
he's rolled the ball up the court twice, which is like kind of odd behavior. Like, it goes past the half court line onto the arc. And the first time he did it, he picked it up and immediately shot a three and ran back.
He was trying to get a 2-for-1 though.
Smart. And then he did it again yesterday, and then he lost the ball in a turnover because Millsap had seen him do it before. And he just seems like a different player.
But that's what
Because he
Playing-
likes bowling now? Like,
He's doing different things than he's done before.
But I don't know that
It's
he is.
observable.
But
It's
I don't-
observable.
But if you go back and you look at those times when the Cavs would fall apart and we'd say their defense, this is the year the defense betrays them and they're terrible. There would be plays where like LeBron wouldn't hustle and be like, look at his body language.
Oh, no,
he's
we
not
know
closing
that.
out. He's standing there. He's mad at his teammates. He's given up. And I'm like, we forget about all those because playoff LeBron emerges and then they would go to the finals. And we're like, If you went back and like cherry picked these kind of motions and this body language, I feel like he does this stuff a decent amount.
But that's the key, right? You say you feel like it, and a lot of people have gathered this information and like have a lot of replays, and he hasn't done this. Like, it is different. He's older. Has a lot of miles on his feet, and I think that to say he looks the same is as much projection as to say he doesn't look the same.
What?
Essentially, what he's been saying after the game sounds like a different dude. And he sounds like an older, wiser man now. He's smarter now.
What do you think his high mileage feet look like? Like, how fucked up looking are his feet?
That
is
poor
he like,
dude,
Is he
man.
like?
His feet are wild. Like, you can look those up. People have like...
Oh, you.
Yeah, it's a thing. His feet are messed up.
Yeah, like ballet dancer messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were really gnarly, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I guess I'll just answer the question myself after the show, and I'll go Google LeBron's gross feet.
Yeah, and I think it went viral when he was deep into the playoffs on Cleveland, and it was just like, this guy has not only what he does on the court subjects him to this punishment.
Oh fuck me, Ben! Why would you do that? Look at his.
It looks like a pile of ground beef, man.
It looks like fucking Dwayne Casey's hands. No, not Dwayne Casey. Alvin Gentry. He's got the fucked up hands. The coach, all his fingers
yeah,
are
that's
broken.
right,
Oh
that's
my
right.
god, that's what LeBron's feet look like. If you have never looked at that.
Dude, poor LeBron, man.
Oof.
Aye.
We're just looking at Google images of LeBron's feet, which are very easy to find. If you are as curious as Jordan was, you can delve into that pod world, if you will. But Quo, what were you saying about the Kyrie LeBron thing? What did LeBron learn from Kyrie? Because that's a very suspect premise to begin with.
Oh, I like how my take is automatically suspect, even before I give it, right?
It's incredibly sus.
It might be. Jordan will be the judge of this. So,
It's sus.
Okay, well, should
okay,
we? Should
Thanks
we?
a lot.
perfect
Chloe.
pod, man.
All right, you.
Cookies.
Okay,
Cookies.
cookies.
So I think the framing in Cleveland after that band broke up was that like Kyrie was really annoyed at LeBron for sunning him and kind of being like the alpha dog on that team, the Batman to his Robin, whatever. So Kyrie left to be his own player and his own max guy and superstar in Boston. But after seeing LeBron, like the way he talks in LA, I have like a sneaking feeling that like the most influential player on that Cavs team was in like Kyrie Irving, because LeBron's showing all these signs of being like that millennial ass
Confirmed
guy.
sus.
Well, if you think about what LeBron is doing now, his attitude being like, it doesn't matter. I got my agency. I got Space Jam 2. Like, this is just a game. You guys got to like think about the bigger picture. And I have no longer anything to prove to you guys. I'm just a man on this earth. And I'm like, that sounds a lot like Kyrie's whole shtick.
So is like, did Kyrie leave Cleveland because LeBron was biting him too hard?
I think millennials are the millennial vibe is pretty awesome, and it's so easy to fall into that when you're an athlete, right? Just being like, yeah, forget these guys who constantly criticize me. Everything's bigger. I have a family. I have like aspirations to be a businessman. Like, stop asking me about a loss against the Knicks.
This ties into a lot of the old head griping that younger guys are not rivals. They don't
Right.
just hang out with their teammates and despise someone else who's on an East Coast Conference competitor. That these guys are humans and that they are normal. It's something that people don't like. They want
hate
their
that.
athletes to be gladiators. They want that idea of the only thing that matters to you is the game, because
If I had your talents, I wouldn't treat this with such disrespect.
and it's because I want to watch it and feel that you are putting in that effort because I can't.
Yeah.
I want to root for you and I want to cheer from my couch, but I want to know that you are willing to like be carried off on your shield,
Yeah.
despite the fact that like I'm not.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Not
I
even
don't,
with takes.
I don't do
Yeah.
that shit at all. But like, I want you to die on the hardwood and take an elbow and lose all your teeth because like you want to beat the Bulls
Yeah.
on a meaningless game
And
in February.
And through various CBAs since that era of the Dream Team, it's like these guys are smarter businessmen. and they know where they fall into this, and they know how to control their own story, not only through Jeter's like Players Tribune, but Twitter and Instagram, and whether that be control or lack of control, we'll see. But also, I think it's very relevant to what Silver came out this morning and said. It was became news. I think he said it a few days ago at the Sloan conference with Bill Simmons, where he said the modern player. He's talked to a couple of these players, and they seemed really dour and sullen and sad. And he expressed a lot of concern towards this attitude that he thinks is like prevalent in the league, where all these players kind of bottle themselves up, put on headphones. Go into social media and don't talk to their teammates. And he drew the Dream Team as an example, being like, those were like fun friends that enjoyed that time. And that's like revisionist history a bit. But it's interesting for him to come out and put a spotlight on this vibe, because he is not a millennial and he is trying to parse these signifiers as something.
To me, though, I think there's some truth to it. And it's generational, but these guys do live really strange lives. They are incredibly wealthy at a really young age. They are really tall. They are not guys who can, generally speaking, they're not TJ McConnell.
A lot of them aren't white.
They aren't white. I mean, they are subject to scrutiny from a media that is largely white, from a fan base in audience that is white, from people on social media, Twitter, etc., who they don't know but are willing to be like, "Fucked your mom last night," and you're just like, they're just like, "What?
Hey,
Like,
whoop,
what are you talking about? I don't know you, man. Why are you saying cruel things to me?"
Why is Delonte West tweeting that at LeBron?
Oh, poor little
Jordan.
Delonte West.
What?
Come on, what did I do?
There's only one confirmed motherfucker in the NBA, and that's Delonte
It's
West.
not confirmed at all.
What? I spoke to him. He was like, "Yeah, I done did that."
Wasn't he riding around on a motorcycle with a shotgun on his back?
Yeah, Delonte was in the era before we had sympathy for people with
Mental illness.
Yeah, I think he was also
illness.
found like in a dumpster, like covered in milk or something like that.
Whoa.
No, he has mental illnesses,
Yeah.
and I think we should leave his stories about dumpster diving and shotgun toting
For
in a
another
higher
show.
area. But
Good player.
actually, pretty good, good.
Like a good player.
Oh, what's up, 90s?
Exactly.
That's hella Delonte West content in the show.
Wicked 90s.
Whatever. You're the one who said "fucked your mom."
That's
90s,
true.
that's
He
very 90s.
came with receipts.
Yeah.
Am I canceled? but the point that Silver's making, these guys do have a camaraderie with each other that you can't have with people who don't live that style of life. And I think when you hear them talk about their lives and the way that they live, it's really weird. I remember doing a story on Amari Stoudemire, and it was about how he was getting into art. And we rolled around New York City. We were in an SUV, and he sits in the third row of seats with the second row of seats pushed down with his legs extended all the way forwards because he can't fit in a normal car because he's 6'11". Everywhere we got out, it's just people stopping, staring, taking photos. And this is a guy who, while he was a star, he was not at this point of his career. It was people who didn't even know him. But it's like a large black dude who's almost 7 feet tall standing on Canal Street and outside of, we were going to visit Artsy or whatever it was. And he's standing on the street and people are just stopping and taking photos of him. And I don't know that they knew he was Amari Stoudemire.
What was the reaction when he tried to fold himself into a booth at Dimes?
I mean,
That's a small, cramped space.
Small cramped space.
Kind of delicious.
I don't know. I mean, who's the king of Dimes Square?
So Dime Square, for people who don't live in New York, it's this area surrounding Dime's restaurant, which is like a healthy kind of like not vegan, but like for that whole bowl movement.
It's
right?
it's a crucible of wellness.
Yes, but it's where we like to have drinks downtown, and where
Dimes
people
Square
hang
is
out.
also known in some circles as Dickhead Triangle too.
Because Dickhead Triangle 1 is on Rivington and Orchard, right?
No, Dickhead Triangle is like right outside Cafe Select, where like
Oh, that
dudes
yes.
with like Labradors wearing rollerblades hang out.
I was thinking about Hell Square.
Yeah, no, yeah. What you're talking about is Lafayette and like
Delancey, where it changes
Lafayette,
the Kenmare.
Lafayette and Kenmare. Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, who is the king? Would it be... I'm putting Sleepy Doug into that mix. He lives right there.
Ooh, I'm going to say Hassan Ali Khan.
Cool, let's talk about people no one knows. Our
anyway,
friends.
Keep
right.
doing that.
Yeah, I didn't really give you much leeway in coming up with a response to. I think Kuo is the king of Diamond
I'll
Square.
take it, fine.
Okay, you guys have heard of him. He's on the show.
Quality.
I-
High quality directions to places you can't get to.
I actually think it's one of the most beautiful places in all of New York, though, because when the sun sets, you can see a straight shot to the west, and it's like super beautiful.
Okay, confirmed. King of
I love it.
Triangle,
I love
yeah.
it.
He's got his own little
No,
Manhattan
Dickhead
henge down
Triangle
there.
2.
Yeah.
More Dickhead Triangles.
Yes.
Well, we've established that. But anyway, I think Silver's kind of right. These guys do live weird lives, and I think it's not easy to be happy if you are an NBA player, despite these factors that you can look at and say, but you're a hero, but you're wealthy, and et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, we have a mutual friend, Malik, who is a big black guy. He's tall, and when in his 20s, they pushed him towards MMA because he was like, he's very athletic, he's huge. And I remember one night he was like, I'm fighting tomorrow. I'm like, yo, protect yourself, whatever. And then the next day I roll up, I'm like, what happened? He's like, I got knocked out within a few seconds. I'm like, what happened? You're huge. And he was like, I trained for like weeks. I went in there, a small fight, and I didn't want to punch. And I was like, oh man, it sucks, man. He's like, I just don't want to fight anybody. Like, what am I going to do? Hurt this other dude? First fight, knocked out, and he just never went back. And he's like, everyone just pushed him towards it, and he just didn't want to do it. And I feel like there's statistics that show that with people over 7 feet tall, they're kind of at one point in their lives pushed to play basketball. Monetarily, it's a market thing. Like, they can make a lot of money. But we know of all these stories, especially Larry Sanders comes to mind, of people who just don't enjoy it.
The best.
He's so good. He's so good. But
Could have been part of a championship team.
that's right. You're Milwaukee Bucks,
Yeah.
man. Oh, imagine. But when I hear Silver's story and him talking about like these kind of withdrawn athletes, we got to remember like he's a cop, right? Like he's the boss. In my second reaction to after being like Silver's kind of a reasonable, thoughtful, caring guy is, oh, get rid of the salary cap and these guys will be happier. This is a rules thing where I think all these kids are just like, I'm not LeBron James. I can't dictate the terms of my own home or contract. Let me do those things and I'll be happier for you if you care about happiness, right?
I think it's also weird. It's somewhat strange for him to come out and say, sort of highlight the sadness of these players. It kind of sounds like he's letting everyone know that they should be grateful or more grateful for where they are, rather than like sad boying through the league.
That wasn't really his Sad Boys. I don't really feel like that was his vibe though. When you listen to that clip, Silver's kind of awesome. It sounds like he does care, but I mean the biggest way to fix someone's anger or like negativity is to like compensate them, right?
But his thing was acknowledging that they are highly compensated, and
Are they? I mean, it's his job to like steady that ship.
we're talking about from a sort of national average.
Oh, we can't do that though.
But no, but I think they should get more money.
Yeah.
I say give the players 80% of the collective bargaining pie,
Or let the
but-
owners fight and pay as much as they want for
but
these
these
guys.
aren't guys who are like college players. They're unhappy because they're not being compensated for their work. They are, whether we think it should be more or less, or there's a class system within the NBA. These guys are still, by typical standards, they are extremely wealthy at a very young age.
I hate that narrative.
No, I'm not even saying
yeah.
that. I'm saying that's not the issue here. I'm trying to figure out what he's saying.
But I'm saying that is an issue because, for example, I mean, I sound like I care more than I do, but a situation in Washington where Bradley Beal gets paid with a capital P, and John Wall is like, what the fuck, man, I am the best player on this team. He's going to make more money than me, and he's already making a ton of money. It's not about that sum, it's about compensation, and it's about incentive. So when you don't incentivize, not only talking about John Wall, if you don't incentivize like a JaVale McGee, he's just going to be like, don't talk to me, man.
There's clearly those sort of issues in the locker room where a guy who sees someone who, say, a bad signing by his team, who isn't even playing or contributing and is making like $9 million a year while you're there on like a rookie contract or you're an unrestricted free agent and locked into what they would call the hinky special of more or less being paid minimum for 4 years. Mm-hmm. There's I'm almost certainly those kind of jealousies, but I also think everyone kind of understands that, like, that's the system they're operating in, and there is injustice in it. I'm more curious, like, he has an agenda to say these guys are rich and et cetera, but he's saying that they're like on their phones. He's making a different argument than one is like, they're rich, they should be happy. Like, no one here is saying.
I'm reaching with that. I haven't heard many people call out the CBA with that. And you're right. He talks about social media, and I'm just like, can he recognize a millennial when he sees one? It's hard. I have difficulty.
It's a very old man thing to be like, they're on their phones.
Yeah.
It's like, they're not reading books. It's like, we don't read anymore. No one reads.
Dude,
books are over.
Music is so good. Those headphones are so good. They're listening to Travis Scott. It's something you wouldn't do, right?
They're wandering around. They leave their phones on the bench and then go shoot around. They got no wires attached to these headphones. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, first they're playing Mo Bamba, then they're playing Sicko Mode, then it's Mo Bamba again, then
it's
Mo
Bob
Bamba,
Marley.
then Sicko Mode.
And they're doing the floss dance.
Right. That dance just makes no sense to me.
But I don't have a problem with NBA players being sad about stuff. Like, I don't want to go to work half the time that I'm there. Sorry. But like, I don't even want to be here half the fucking time. Like, and now we're doing 2 shows a week, so it's like I don't want to be here like a quarter of the time.
Sad boys. Sad boys 5.
Sad Boys 5.
More sad boys.
Even more sad boys.
So yeah, if someone's like, hey, you're getting paid this amount of money to turn up and do your job, and that's what the job entails, that's fine. But not a lot of us have jobs that keep us away from our families and girlfriends for 8 months out of the year, constantly traveling.
Being criticized every second.
By your fucking
Us.
Asshole coach, your veteran players who don't quite get you or don't like you because you're new, millions of people on the internet, and then like someone like Stephen A. Smith. Like, criticized for doing your job, which you're probably trying to do to the best of your ability. So, I mean, whatever. You're getting paid millions of dollars, and that's why someone like Larry Sanders, like, bounce. He's like, it's not worth it for me. Like, I'm not a happy person.
It's also interesting that perhaps the rise of, say, statistics, and I don't even mean advanced metrics, just people being aware of numbers all the time. And it's like, oh, fuck, I went like 3 for 7. Now I got to hear about it.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, no rebounds. Gonna get roasted for like a lack of rebounding. It's just like,
exactly.
It's such a
like
meritocracy with like actual figures.
You get a couple of nice hustle plays, and you come off the court, and coach is like, "Good job out there, good job." And now it's like video guy 4 coming up and being like, "You didn't box out on this possession. You missed a hockey assist on this possession."
Yeah.
And it was like, sorry, but it was like last week or a couple weeks ago. It was like. Jason Tatum sealing Luol Deng, dunked on Ben Simmons, a basketball genius, and it was like ESPN push notification. Tatum lays down spike facial all over Ben. It's just, I'm like, this is the league.
Yeah.
These guys are you're just taunting them from the league's office.
Yeah, and the other thing, there was one that I noticed recently. It was when LeBron got caught up on a pick and Kyle Kuzma and him sort of clashed. And the whole thing was like, Kyle Kuzma pushes LeBron into defensive positions. Like, no, he just, like, they bumped into one another and he pushed him off because he wanted to get to his man. He didn't he wasn't sunning LeBron. He wasn't pushing him in any particular way. And sure, LeBron James's feelings are not going to be hurt by this. But it's that really strange thing where they're trying to stir up so much shit these days that is it any wonder that some of these kids like get their feelings hurt?
And both of you are right. Like what Ben was saying about statistics, to your point that you just made, it's like we know what Mike Scott is. We've looked at all of his attributes. He blows a coverage last night, loses the game, and we're just roasting Mike Scott. I'm like, that's Mike Scott, man.
It's like he's like, guys, I'm Mike
Yeah.
Scott. You aware of that? Like,
Yeah.
I know I screwed up, but it's me.
Shout out
Mike Scott, the MDMA guy, the guy who with all the emoji tattoos. Mike Scott?
Shout out to Corey Brewer running out of talent. Mike Scott should have just been like, yo, I tried my hardest. I just ran out of talent. It was a split second and I couldn't recover.
Like an error was made.
Yes, he's like, I'm sorry. And he was roasted. And then Brett Brown was roasted. And I'm like, that's Mike ass Scott, man.
I also
Mike Ascot? You mean Mike Necktie? Mike Neckerchief.
Brett Brown was getting torched all over Twitter yesterday, this morning, like trending, like, Brett Brown, moron. It's like, what did you want him to do?
Yeah.
Take Mike Scott off the court? Like, I mean, it's Mike Scott. Like, he's okay. That was their best guy to have out there.
He had a split second brain fart and it lost the game, but that's a coin flip.
I mean, the criticisms of Brett Brown are generally so non-specific. It's like, he bungled it last night. They should have done something different. Like, what would that have been?
Yeah.
Put in Amir Johnson? Would he have been better at guarding Zach LaVine? Like, Zach LaVine was incredible
Unstoppable.
yesterday. They had everyone on him. They would run picks. They'd eventually get a matchup. He would go off the dribble. He'd get a foul. He hit threes that were fadeaways. Zach LaVine is like a top 7 scorer in the league, and they don't have a lot of good wing defenders or guard defenders. He was unbelievable. He went off.
He takes a running start every time if he's not being defended at the arc.
He's freaking good at scoring, and he lit them up. And everyone's like, Brett Brown, clown. Mike Scott, loser. It's like, no, how about Zach LaVine was really good, and you lost a meaningless game that doesn't matter?
Right, exactly.
Like, it's cool.
Yeah.
And without Joel Embiid, it's cool.
And it's a thing to, like what Jordan was saying, like all these criticisms coming from all these angles. It's kind of a phenomenon with like the internet, right? Like we want everyone to be the totality of their best attributes that align with ours. So if a player is like kind of sad because he's away from his girlfriend and family, I'm like, that might not be like a problem you think it is.
And it's especially bad for Lou Williams because he's away from his girlfriends.
Oh no, he broke up with one. He's monogamous now, I think.
Wait, is he
One of them
monogamous?
left.
One of them left, or did he become monogamous with a whole brand new one? Did he get a 2-for-1?
All I know is one of them left, and he's still dating the other one.
Are there any known poly players in the NBA now?
Does Tristan Thompson count?
Tristan Thompson's really he's been pretty poly lately. He's pretty open to
It's just a smooch, though, a harmless
yeah,
smooch.
old dirty Dick Thompson out there. Just swinging that thing.
DD.
I love
What?
I said Tristan Thompson, TT.
Oh.
I love the fact that he's just a regular on TMZ, and it's like, all right, we got the whole thing with him and Chloe. We got this whole thing with whatever her name is at a party at his house, and then he's like in New York at Carbone having like dates with another mystery woman. Shout out to TT. Like other people are just doing nothing in Cleveland. He's out here living his best life.
I think everyone who comes in contact with the Kardashians, their lives get better. I'm like, that seems like an awesome life. Chloe saved Lamar Odom's life from like near death. Like, I don't know.
Wait, is it? Are they only allowed to date clutch sports players? Is that what's going on?
Was Odom clutch?
James Harden. Not clutch, but he was a Chloe dater.
Ben Simmons,
Clutch.
Clutch. Tristan Thompson, obviously clutch.
clutch. LeBron James, clutch.
You'd think we'd be talking about like basketball, but we're talking about a different game.
So you're saying, though, just to backtrack, the Kardashian curse is actually a Kardashian blessing.
100%. I think they surround themselves with awesomeness, and everyone who comes in contact with them, It looks like they're having fun.
Does it work if you're a rapper? Because
Yeah.
I would say that French Montana and Kanye West have not benefited in the same way that basketball players have. Chris Humphrey's another beneficiary of the Kardashian Blessing.
Ray J did not benefit.
I think all these people did, though. They got more famous and they got more options. Like Kanye West, I think, got when Pablo came out was like his peak Kanye, I thought. He's taken some time off, but when his new album comes out, I think we'll love it. I think his life got better, for sure.
By the way, Kylie Jenner, a 21-year-old billionaire, youngest billionaire ever. That's crazy.
Shout
I didn't
out.
even know that she had lip gloss.
Amazing. That whole market's amazing.
Is the lip gloss amazing?
I don't know. What is it called?
I think it's called Kylie.
That would be the smartest thing to do.
It's a good name for it.
Yeah. They're little geniuses over there, man. How old is she? Like 24?
21. She
21?
beat Zuckerberg as the youngest person ever to $1 billion.
That's awesome,
I'd
man.
prefer her have that money than Zuckerberg.
Why do you hate Zuckerberg?
I mean, he's the cop of all cops.
Why? I don't have a take on this.
He's created a monstrous surveillance network that will behave like a mercenary and just distribute data to whoever wants it.
Is he unique in that practice?
There's plenty of unscrupulous
he's
tech
a- so
barons. He
he's-
just
he's-
happens to be the one who runs Facebook that everyone's uncle is on,
Right, like we don't know who the head
spreading
of
like
Huawei is.
spreading memes about AOC.
So he's like the ultimate G-man.
He's like the J. Edgar Hoover, but
No.
it's just for money.
Right? Silver's the ultimate G-man. Saying all this stuff about, oh, I feel bad about the players. Meanwhile, he gets paid by the owners, man.
Oh, I mean, he's obviously a law enforcement.
Do you think he has handshakes with any of the players, like top tier players? Do they have their special like silver handshake?
Oh, like a secret society?
Yeah.
Like the Skulls or something?
Yeah, no, just like how players have those
think it's-
intricate handshakes.
I think if the owners have intricate handshakes, it's just like
they're just
here
filled
comes
with
Dan,
money.
Dan Gilbert. They just hand bricks of cash to each other. Gold,
like-
gold bullion.
It's like a fake arm that pulls off and just money pours out of the sleeve.
That's how they have to pay cash considerations is actually in cash. Just
That's right.
Just a pallet of money delivered to
Oh, it's a
the
handshake
Sacramento
deal.
King, or to the Chicago Bulls because I love their cash considerations.
You could have this player in the second round. Like, I'm sorry, we're not even going to consider that. We really liked a bunch of bullion, a large vessel of diamonds and rubies.
Gold. I don't know.
Okay, some other news.
What's your other news? Do you have any personal news that we need to know about?
No, but this is news that will affect Kuo
Oh,
personally.
Is it about Chinese food?
No.
Go on then.
When the Knicks traded away Kristaps Porzingis, you came in here high on life. You loved the trade because you seem to believe that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving would be headed to the Knicks. They would give you an instant ready-made rebuild. Like just pour it out of the little bag, stir in some water, and you've got yourself a cake. Now it's being reported that neither of them are
Chris
really...
Broussard came out
Yeah.
and had that report that they were reconsidering together. What's up?
total bullshit. How does he know? No one knows anything, but they got tired of the KD and Kyrie are coming to the Knicks story, news cycle, so now they had to backtrack it to talk some other shit. It's just like,
But I'm with you. But let's say it is true. But
Okay.
like I said on that emergency pod that we did a week later, was I am just proud of the Knicks and what they're doing now, giving us space and giving us the opportunity to sign them. If they don't, they tried. It's up to those two, whatever inner workings go on. I'm happy that they gave us that possibility if it doesn't work out. And I think that's all we can ask for. Like last night they lost against the Suns and they were not playing. And I felt really proud of this team because they stuck to a plan and went through with it. And the announcer, Clyde Frazier, was dogging them. The home team was like really having a good time. I'm like, they stuck to it. This is awesome.
My biggest problem with the Knicks is not that they will be disappointed when stars don't join them.
Whatever
Because
happens, happens. If he
because
dies, he dies.
It was more the idea that that was presented out there as like, here's the reason they did it. I'm like, well, that's true. If you are sure that you are going to get a superstar, then that trade makes sense. When we talked about it, I believe my standpoint on it was that like none of this can be guaranteed at all. We don't know where they're going to go, and they probably don't even know where they're going to go yet. They are guys in their 20s. Kyrie's opinion probably changes on a daily basis. When the Celtics got drubbed the other night, he's like, I'm on the first thing smoking out of here. And then they beat the Warriors. He's like, Celtic for life.
One night he's sitting next to Luol Deng. The other night he's sitting next to Martell Webster. It's weird.
But I really do think that the Knicks going into a strategy being like, we're going to get these guys was always kind of fictional. I think they wanted to trade Porzingis and then getting the word out that like, they got the inside track on these two dudes. That seemed like a palatable way for them to get people behind that decision. I think they just didn't feel like paying them and were like, we'll take a crack at this summer.
I think it's all these little things happened. I think they do have Kyrie and KD in mind, but if it ends up being like Goran Dragic and Millsap, they tried. They tried, man. Mama tried, right?
I mean, the Horford-Millsap combo.
Woo, fire.
Proven.
They should
Proven fire.
Get Korver,
get Jeff
get
Teague.
Teague.
They can get all those guys back. The band's back, baby.
Too bad they got rid of Tim Hardaway Jr.
And too bad they'd miss out on Bud, Coach Bud, because it would have been
Is the Bays God available? But
No.
the one thing,
is that I'm
are you in on Fizz or out on Fizz?
I'm in. This season was a wash. They stuck to it. We knew this is not for the weak of heart. Like, and I have to tell myself that because it's like climate deniers, right? Being like, I don't believe there's a climate change. And it's like, you don't have to. There is, and we're going to take care of it. You can not believe it, but action must be taken.
Wait, who's taking care of climate change?
What's
as far as I know, that nobody's taking care of it. Nobody's going to.
China's like stepping up and trying to like make regulations and trying to lead the world in that, and America's still doing stuff. But I
What do you think about the Green New Deal quote?
Leonardo DiCaprio's out there on the beach picking up bottles.
LDC.
Not finding waste in the ocean and turning it into like wristwear.
I don't think we have to worry about the new Green Deal until next year after they sign Clay and maybe sign Durant.
But so wait, who's the climate denier in this Knicks analog? I'm trying to sort out where you're going with that.
Like fans who criticize Fizz or criticize losing and think losing culture like permeates your locker room and it's hard to get out from under. I think you just switch this up as soon as you get good players, and you could be mad at this losing and this tanking all you want, but it's just math. Like you could be mad at 3-pointers; they're just worth more points.
But who gives a shit? The Knicks have been losing forever. Like, what makes these losses worse than the other losses or the other seasons without playoff appearances?
Hey, I'm bummed that it took them this long to figure it out because we could have had Luka Doncic. Like, not like we're hanging our hat on those wins last year. Like, we had a chance at all these good players in last year's draft. This year, it's like 3 guys.
But when you look at the Sixers in comparison to a team like the Knicks, like the Sixers bottomed out and they got top 3 picks, 3 drafts in a row, and then ended up like, having the swap with the Kings, whatever. But the point is, being really bad for a couple years is a lot more beneficial than being pretty bad for 7 years.
Yeah, right.
Like
Yes.
just be shitty. Just be really shitty and get a good draft pick. And now that strategy isn't quite as viable because they've flattened the odds, which is exactly why the Knicks are ridiculous. Because the year that they're like, tear it down, just like like rip it down.
Yeah, for sure. And it's frustrating because there was all these players out there. Like, I still think about Karl Anthony Towns and like, he's a legit superstar and whatever. The lottery is the lottery, but
The irony here is that the one time that the Knicks were super bad, they ended up getting Porzingis, who's been the most valuable thing the team has gotten out of the draft for ages.
yeah, and
the evidence of being really bad was right there.
yeah, right. The proof was there. It's just like last year when they were like, no, we have to win these games for culture. I'm like, the only reason you're winning these games is because of players you have collected through the draft. And like, it's inexplicable. I mean, I'm almost like flabbergasted by it, but I'm just happy that this year has enough foresight to game the system. And if we miss out on KD and Kyrie, so be it. It's up to them.
I think a lot of the problem, though, with the tanking and rebuilding of the Knicks had to do... You couldn't do that while Phil Jackson was in the building. Like, there's no way that he was going to be the GM that builds that way.
The aging superstar basketball mind is just as bad as a player.
And he's been gone a few years now, but it's definitely... I think that is what stymied their acceptance of tanking as a viable option going forward.
You can look at the guys they acquired, like Joakim Noah and
That poor
Courtney
team.
Lee. Those weren't guys that you add to a young team. They were guys that you add if you're trying to make the playoffs.
Right. Which was odd because he paid Joakim like a principal player. He didn't pay Joakim like a player you add for a run who would take less money to have a chance at a ring.
Or a guy that you're just bringing in for the locker room. Like, we want to have an old head here because we believe in the idea of team culture. Right. And even if Joakim is that guy, you could have found a guy like an Amir Johnson, say, and paid them like $2 million and play a little backup and teach these guys what it's like to be a pro. They paid him $17 million a year as to be a starting player.
Right, and that was disappointing because even though Dolan seems like he's kind of hands off these days, Phil Jackson was an extension of the Dolan philosophy, which was frustrating. Steve Perry, I think he has, I don't know what he actually does, but it seems like he has an influence on Steve Mills because they're behaving in different ways this year. This is not typical Knicks behavior.
When I look at the moves they've made and their identification of young talent, I think there's reason for some optimism. Yeah. Just in general, like you're like Mitchell Robinson, they're looking for guys. They're trying to find keepers. Whether you do it or not, that is good behavior. They're playing the kids, etc. My major concern for this season, although it is a wash, is I don't like the way that they play as a team. It's annoying to me. And I think that is a red flag about Coach Fizz. And I know the results don't matter. This has nothing to do with winning. But when you take winning out of the equation and you can just be ideological and say, this is how my guys play. I want to find dudes who might be able to work in that down the road. I want to build an identity for a team. And it's not like we're good at D or we're this.
Like 2 years ago when the Nets played, you saw a point of view.
Knicks they have a point of view, but it's not one that speaks towards anything progressive. They don't really run. They don't take a ton of threes. They don't cause a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, but what happens when you do those things? You might like fuck around and come up with a win.
I'm with Jordan on this.
What do you fuck?
It's a long game.
Yeah,
But I think
you gotta
like,
lose these
why are you
games.
going to show people your playbook and maybe win games using it? Like
That's why
wait
you're
to
not
see,
a GM,
wait to see
Dan.
what your personnel is next year, and then implement the fucking Fizz way of life.
But I feel like his is more like, do what you guys think you're good at.
Grit and grind.
Exactly. Do what you guys think you're good at, because if I don't really coach you, we won't really win, and we will get really.
I like your Fizz impersonation.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
but if you look at like, you can.
Oh, you're wrong.
No, but if,
Wrong.
you can take someone who's a
Oh,
bad.
oh, you're the wrong guy.
If you take guys who are bad at something and tell them to do something that's smart, they're going to be bad at it.
No, for sure. And
You'd be like, Henry Sims, you take threes now because we have all of our bigs shoot threes. Like Henry Sims, is like, I've never taken a three in my life. You're like, it's cool.
Yeah.
Get out there and let it rip.
And while you're 100% right, this is like, it's really hard to talk about, right? Because like Jordan's also right. It's like, it's not the right personnel. Like, these guys aren't going to be on the team. Fizz has done smart things before, but also has now showing he does not smart things. And it's really hard to parse all these things.
They might have better talent, and then Fizz is a great coach. I don't know. Yeah. It's just when I was looking at the numbers, I was kind of stunned because they don't fit the profile of the Sixers, the Nets, the Hawks this year. Those teams that are like, oh, we have a point of view. And maybe his is all like, we'll get some free agents, and then I'll sort out what we're good at then. But I'm like, you guys take a lot of long twos. You
Stupid.
don't pass. They're like worst in the league. In,
Are there
in passing.
are there any teams with great coaches that also don't have an all-star?
Oh, Budenholzer. Oh no, sorry, I thought I was thinking Hawks.
Two.
I mean, I think Lloyd Pierce is a good coach. They don't have any all stars. You know, I guess D'Angelo Russell did it, but I mean, I'm saying these teams had systems in place. You know, I don't know that Fizz is that progressive. Is what I'm saying, which doesn't mean he's a bad coach, but he's I don't know.
But my thing is like you can just like trot out a bunch of, let's call them losers, and put them on the team. But if you don't have, my point is, if you don't have an all-star or like a franchise player to keep happy, you don't really have to have your identity or run a scheme if you don't have to provide that for anybody. Like he doesn't have any excuses. He doesn't have to make any excuses for people.
But I feel it's like that's when you can kind of like, here's my blueprint. Like you don't have any say. You're Ron Baker. You're going to stay in that corner and you're going to take threes when it gets out there. You're going to pass the ball on this play and swing it. You're going to do that. And someone else is like, yeah, but I've never taken threes. And you're like, it doesn't matter. If you want to be in the NBA, you're going to take this three because I'm the boss and you're not, you know, like you have no say.
My feeling is we're talking about the trees, and we're not at the trees yet. We're still looking at the forest. And I think maybe he's trying to create value for these guys to have some sort of sweetener role in a trade moving forward. I think the one thing that is alarming me is like Dennis Smith Jr. comes into MSG, drops a triple-double, and we trade for him the next day. Ellison goes off for one day, and we sign him for a year. It's like it seems like they're just responding to the wrong things. Like it's still a forest issue, not a tree issue. So when you get down to like X's and O's, I'm like, we're not even there yet, man.
Fair enough. I mean, there's very little positive things to say about what the Knicks are doing, except for everyone is kind of happy at this point. They're terrible. That's the point of this year. So, like, I know what you're saying. Like, the real thing here is that the Knicks have a chance to get a new player that they can add to this team, and they have some money. So this is all irrelevant. We can kind of forget about the Knicks.
Oh yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, man. Let's just look away. If you can't handle the gore, look away. You know, that's my whole thing. It's like this was going to be an awful year if everything worked out right, and it has been. Mitchell Robinson.
Exactly. Just watch Mitchell Robinson highlights.
Dude is a joy,
pretend
man.
that the rest does not exist.
I've always thought that was the whole joy of rooting for a bad team is being really optimistic about guys that will likely not be great. And maybe Mitchell Robinson will be, or maybe Luke Cornett will turn into something, whatever. But it's fun rooting for little underdog dudes because
Super
they just
fun.
show up and you're like, okay, this guy, he could turn into, I don't know, Paul George. And you're like,
Yeah.
of course he won't. But it's more fun than rooting for a bunch of veterans who are overpaid and surly.
The low end of purgatory is the worst. Like Miami fans are just like bumming right now. It's not even like Wizards fans who are in the playoffs repeatedly. It's just like Josh Richardson's kind of good. I'm like, I'm glad I don't have to think about that,
Yeah, Miami's that's a harsh one.
dude.
It's like, oh, we just moved that Tyler Johnson contract. You're like, that's cool for you guys. Yeah.
Even though he can spit bars.
Kuo was talking
Our interns.
the interns.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about Tyler Johnson being a guy who throws on the milk bone instrumental.
Oh, we were talking about that the other night.
I think that's where they might have gotten it.
Ah,
Wait, I wasn't there for that conversation.
Yeah, we were talking about the milk bone instrumental.
Oh, right. The interns. That's where they got it.
A classic for the freestyler.
That's right. Well, doesn't Tyler Johnson remind you of your friend? I think we all have one who like maybe like smells like marijuana sometimes, but also always like lunch meat because they're always eating like sandwiches or nachos or something, but also can spit bars.
he's like a stoned Uber driver who's assembling a roast beef sandwich in the front seat of his car.
Constantly, right? And being like, the sauce is key. Saying shit like that. Being like, oh, the sauce is everything.
There's a real connection between Tyler Johnson and cars. Like he could be an Uber driver. He's got a bunch of like empty bottles in the back seat.
like Gatorade bottles, like Monster Energy
He
drinks.
smokes,
Dude, one of them
smokes
is a homemade
BDs.
bong, though.
He definitely smokes BDs.
I don't know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
that is.
You remember BDs,
Yes,
right?
yeah. Well, And also,
Ben Detrick's?
BDs. It was BIDI, and they're little Indian cigarettes that would come in like cardamom or clove.
Oh,
or,
like Gudam Garam.
yeah, they're definitely really violently bad for you.
he never takes his North Face off indoors. He's always leaving to like go get a sandwich. He can spit bars. He's always looking for a roommate. He's like, if you know of anybody, like, he's always just like,
That's such classic Tej.
TJ.
Wonder how
Is he
he's
looking right now? Because I bet his pad's pretty sweet.
Well, he's in Phoenix, so he just like shows up. He's like on Facebook. Anyone like know of anyone looking for someone? I got a room available here in the Phoenix area.
He's got like a huge house, but he just like operates in a little corner of a living room with his TV, a table where he can like roll certain things, and just like orders delivery all the time, and is super happy.
He's got a
It's like the
he's got a-
NBA's version of Daniel Plainview at the end of his life.
Your other friends are always like, "Ah, he's weird and he smells like salami." He's like, but he can spit.
He's got a droid. He loves watching Scarface and saying the quotes.
Yeah. He wears the same pair of shoes for like a year. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. I'm kind of Tyler Johnson.
Should we talk about this flat earth stuff or not?
Which stuff?
What?
Oh, flat Earth.
Yeah.
Well, we promised last episode that we would talk about the Flat Earth doc on Netflix, and it sounds to me like you did your homework. I watched 10 minutes of it, but one of you guys hadn't seen it, and now you both have.
I saw it. I mean, kudos to Kyrie Irving for really bringing the flat Earth conspiracy theory
What an
to the fore. I
influential
really
man.
do think that it was Kyrie and the national coverage of that made it happen. I went into it expecting a little more about the psychology of flat Earth, and it's not really like that. It's basically a fucking mockumentary. They're real people, but they clearly went in there and like, hey, we're gonna make a pro flat Earth documentary. Just kidding, we're gonna make you look like a bunch of fucking idiots, because they are. But I found it to be really depressing after a while.
I agree, man. Like, they went kind of a little bit where I kind of go with this stuff. Like, I love these people. I love people who are just like, that's not it. This is it. That's not it. This is it. But at a certain
You mean contrarians?
I mean, literally, that's what they
Yes.
are, right?
Yeah.
But I love contrarians. Like, we are contrarians. Like, so if someone's just like, what if tacos aren't that awesome? I'm like, ooh, let's talk about that. I don't know.
I watched only a couple minutes of it. My initial, I guess, takeaway was that these people generally just distrust science and are kind of like eye test people. If we're looking at a basketball standpoint, they'd lay like, well, I'm looking across over there. I can see that place and there's no curvature, and I can see that, and that's right there. So the Earth is flat. It did seem like their rebelling was almost, it's also like a pointless rebellion, which I think I really respect about it. It's just like, well, my life will not change in any direction whatsoever if I believe that the Earth is flat. So like, I'm just going to go ahead and believe it's flat. There's no ramifications except for like people look at me weird, and I'm just going to go about my day with an absurd belief.
And I think the key part of this might be like, I think Jordan's right. There's this deep sense of like loneliness. Like, these are real nerds. We're not talking about like, I love nerdy people. I like everyone who can name like an album of a band, you know? Like, these are true outcasts. So
Like I like a good incel. Like, you love those guys. They're great.
But like, so they found a community online, like most weird, dark communities form, being like, "Oh, are you into this? I could get into this because no one else will talk to me." And they formed this thing pretty quickly in the last decade, and it just seems like interesting, scary, and super sad.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of like juggalos. Like,
Oh, respect to Juggalos.
everyone wants to go to the gathering, but that doesn't mean that they like Insane Clown Posse's music. Like, they don't have to believe in the thing. They just have to believe that other people out there believe in something alongside them.
It's like Scientology. Like, it helps some people, you know, like any form of religion. Like, I consider myself like a stat religious guy where I'm just like, maybe Andrew Wiggins is good. It's like, not yet, but I'll check every day, you know?
I just wish they'd gone into the psychiatry of it a little bit more, as like, because some of these folks seem to have some sort of mental illness or like
Yeah.
straight up delusional. It's not like some people seem like they're into it for the celebrity of it and for the community,
yeah.
the fame. But then there seems to be other people who genuinely like lack the ability to discern what may or may not be real. Like they're the real dyed-in-the-wool conspiracy theorists. Like there's one woman who says she brings up the Boston bombing. She's like, I'm not going to believe that happened unless my leg got blown off. And it's like, wow, you're that fucked up that you don't even have empathy for things that have clearly happened. Like your point of view, your worldview is so self-centered that you can't even like feel that these things are real.
But that's such a cool. I agree with you. But that's such a cool way to think about things, right? Like that is empirical with a capital I, being like, unless I feel this thing, I don't believe it exists. I'm like, ooh, you sound like Kyrie Irving, right? Like, and I think like subcultures are always interesting, even in the NBA. Like the way NBA Twitter, the way certain people think and against it, and they only survive with pushback. So like this scene is one of those scenes that only survives when people call them stupid.
Well, it's also interesting when you kind of think about how the migration online, you'll find your people, and like basketball Twitter, this league. It's like there's all this kind of insider jokes and like a vernacular and reference points that everyone gets. And some people end up in their version of the NBA is QAnon.
Yeah,
And they're like, ha, remember when JFK Jr. did this? And it's like, oh, you're just going in a totally different direction. You ended up there. And you guys, you ended up incels. And you ended up flat earth. And you ended up
Magic
like
the Gathering.
alt-right. And you ended up, exactly. It's weird how this bell curve of normalcy, like being really into large dudes running around and bouncing a basketball and talking about it on a weekly basis twice.
Bi-weekly,
Weird.
twice weekly. Fuck.
Weird.
very weird.
Still, it's not damaging weird, but weird.
It's more accepted, but it's as weird. You're right.
Did you guys see this related to Flat Earth and Kyrie and his thing where he's like, look, whatever I think is whatever I think, and you all can like, what is it called?
That's the deep.
Go jump in a lake. No, Ben, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's called go jump in a lake. You can go jump in a lake of dicks if you want.
In my mind, I was like, how can we gonna turn a lake of dicks into the title of this pod?
I think that'll just be it. No, but in Uncle Drew, which if you guys have not seen, is a fantastic comedy. It really is. It's very, very well.
I don't know if I'm ever gonna watch that.
It's well written.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like Reggie Miller's funny in it. Shaq's funny in it. Nate Robinson doesn't have any lines, but
That's funny.
There's a scene in Laurel Howery's in it, and he's hilarious. But there's a scene in it where they're in Kyrie's van. It's his van. He lives in his van. Has a lot of rules about his van. Don't touch this. I'm the one that plays the stereo. Blah blah blah. And I control the heat. And it's summer, and he has a sweatsuit on, and he has the heat cranked in summer with his sweatsuit on. Everyone else in the car is dying and wants to turn it down. He's like, I'm cold. I'm leaving the heat on. That might be Kyrie Irving in a nutshell. He is his cantankerous Uncle Drew.
Is he a baby boomer then?
Well, no, he consistently says that he's the pilot of this car.
That's very not on brand for his millennial.
And he,
vibes.
after doing that movie, became sort of the Tupac Bishop in Juice, where he's like, I'm Uncle Drew in real life now. That's an endearing, beloved character that everyone liked. I'll just control my van in real life, in the NBA.
Question, old dude question. Juice or Fresh?
Juice.
That's a really tough question.
Oh,
They're slightly different movies, but they both just have...
In terms of rewatchability, which I think is all you can judge on right now, I think it would be Juice. But Fresh is kind
No,
of
it's
like...
good. It's good.
Fresh was like really good.
What about if I threw Clockers in there, too?
Didn't love Clockers as much as
I'm
the
a
other two.
Clockers guy.
shout out to Stefan from Open Run. His father-in-law wrote that book and movie. I was on his
Shout
pod
out
this
to
week.
Stefan.
Was that Richard Price? Mm-hmm. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
One of the,
what
one
about
of the
New Jack
most
City?
notable crime writers of our era.
Or The Wanderers.
didn't he do the HBO show, right? Wasn't that
Oh
him?
yeah, Night of.
Night of, yeah.
New Jack City.
New Jack City.
One of the greatest lines ever in movies. I want to shoot you so bad, my dick's hard. Which is a really weird thing to say to your mother's murderer. You're getting erect thinking about killing someone who killed your mother.
I get that movie confused all the time with because of Chris Rock's role in it, because it's so similar to his whole like "Can I get one rib" thing, but it's a completely different movie.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, that's the movie where he said, "Can I get one rib?"
Right.
It's
It's
amazing.
it's his crackhead character.
Yeah, but they were both crackheads, right?
Yes. I think so. Can we do the same era, same style of movie with Menace to Society versus Boys in the Hood?
So I just rewatched Menace to Society the other month, and it does not hold up, man. And I think we've gone through so many things since that was such a shocking subject matter, and the editing is weird, the acting is weird. It's not as shocking, and I think it relies on that a lot. But on the other hand, I just rewatched Do the Right Thing. That movie's perfect. It has aged so well.
Agreed.
Like, it's shocking still. Like, at the end, you're just like, is this happening? And I've seen that movie like 5 or 6 times, and I'm still just like swept up in it. It's fantastic.
You don't like Boys in the Hood?
No. It's just a bad movie. A lot of those movies are bad. I think they're the kind of movies that, we liked when we were kids because it glorified or represented some of the parts of rap music and sports, and it was very
Well, it was
jerseys and
new,
stuff.
right?
It
Like,
was new.
it felt like when Belly came out, you're like, oh my God, this is a whole new thing.
Right. It was. I remember when Boys in the Hood came out, and it was the first movie that was like that for a generation, and it was starring Ice Cube and it had a rap soundtrack, and it
So
felt
good.
like something that you were into was switching platforms, that had migrated from your headphones to a movie theater, and that was crazy and cool. And then when you look at them now, a movie like Boys in the Hood, which is a classic, of course, it seems trite in the way that when you look at someone shooting a jump shot from 1960s, it was like
Right.
they were learning to do stuff, and like this was the first of its kind, and it was built. People built upon that. It's seminal for a reason, but it also may not hold. Some do, some don't.
How did it manifest itself into 2017, 18, 19? Like, what are the
The
effects?
movie fucking Superfly. Did you guys see that? It's
mean-
like belly light, and it's made awfully by a music video director. It's
So you think that's the end of this whole like process of
for right now, that movie just killed it.
I think it just falls into the same way that Mean Streets sort of ushered in like a new era of filmmaking, and then it's a classic, but it's not the best thing that came out from the genre.
I would argue it had a bigger effect. Like, I don't think you have as misguided giving Green Book the Oscar was this year. I don't think you have movies like Black Klansman without all those movies setting kind of a framework for it. I don't think you have people shooting as many threes without a guy awkwardly shooting a long jumper. So, I mean, there's like Steve McQueen getting all these opportunities to make these big budget movies with critical eagerness, like waiting for his projects. Like, that's a product of like Singleton and those brothers, right? Like making
Hughes
all those
Brothers,
movies.
yeah.
I mean, I think we can feel it like even just a few weeks ago at the Oscars. I thought there was effects of that. Black Klansman, definitely.
Well,
Little movie wrap up.
normally,
Extremely long episode of Cookies.
normally you get that movie talk early. This one, if you stuck around, you were deeply rewarded for your listening time.
We got new merch in the store, so check out our new Sixers Bullies, more Bullies 2, more Bullies.
More bullies.
We got some hats and even more stuff dropping soon. Subscribe, rate, review the pod, Spotify, iTunes. That helps us a lot because we're at that point where that really is good for us.
So, a genuine plea from Andrew Kuo.
That is as genuine as I get.
And that's why this was yet another
Perfect.
perfect pod.
Perfect.
Cookies.
Cookies.